Hello there, welcome to Genesis Models. My name is Bobby Waldron, and what we're going to be doing in this video is a step-by-step video build of how to build the F4U-4 Corsair late version by HobbyBoss 1/48 scale. Now this is a cracking, iconic aircraft of the US Navy, so nice aircraft to kind of build here. Now I'm going to be building this in a step-by-step format, so that means from word go to word end I'm going to show you everything from the building, spraying, the decaling, the weathering, the works. We're really going to show you everything to bring this to a nice professional standard. Now with this particular kit, I've chosen this one particularly because when you're building models on a professional level, you do end up kind of putting a lot of hard work into certain builds. You end up kind of using lots of photo etch and aftermarket parts, resin and everything, and it can be really hard. And I really do believe that when you've had a hard build, there's nothing like just getting back to basics, picking up World War II fighter plane and just simply building it out the box and just building it for the love of the hobby, right? Which doesn't mean we can't produce a professional looking model. It just means we're just kind of going to relax a little bit, and that's the whole point of this build. Now with this particular one, as I say, I'm not going to put any resin, photo etch or anything like that into this build. It's just straight out of the box, so it's nice, cheap, buy the kit and we just build away, and we're not doing anything majorly fancy. So it's a bit kind of on a basic level as well. We're also going to be looking at, because I mean these aircraft, they're notorious for getting really chippy and everything, we're really going to be looking at different techniques of adding chipping to an aircraft as well. And not only that, I mean the colour blue, right? The colour blue is a bit of a you've got to think about it a bit more, because normally with aircraft we're talking greys and all these light colours and everything. When it comes to weathering, we can use dark coloured weathering and everything, but when we come down to the other end of the scale where we're actually doing a dark colour aircraft, all our weathering then has to kind of be lighter colours to weather up a darker model. But you'll get what I mean when we get to all that stage of the weathering and the spraying, because spraying blue's a bit tricky as well. So we're going to be looking at all them things. Now as I say, this is a nice iconic aircraft of the US Navy, so let's actually have a look at the real Corsair, then let's get this into an inbox review, followed by let's just crack on and get building.
The last and possibly the greatest propeller-driven fighter aircraft was the Vought F4U Corsair 1. With their bent wings, the Corsairs are instantly recognizable, but the full extent of their capability is generally not as well recognized as that of other more famous types. However, the F4U could not only outfight the best of the Axis fighters, but also those on the Allied side. They were powerful, fast, well-armed, strong, and reliable. Ideal fighters. At the end of the war, orders for most aircraft types were cancelled, but the F4U remained at the heart of a busy development and production program. For those who like to argue the relative merits of World War II fighters, this continued development indicates the high regard in which it was held by the US Navy and Marines. The Corsair not only continued in production and use into the jet age, but in Korea they encountered jet fighters in combat, and the outcome was not always to the jet's liking. The F4U's peculiar wing reflects the nature of the team that designed it. Vought engineers have often resorted to the unconventional where it worked, perhaps reflecting the age of the company. Founded in June of 1917, Vought is the second oldest surviving aircraft company next to Boeing. Back in those days, intuition was as reliable as science in aircraft design, and Vought has never been in the habit of dismissing the unusual too hastily. Over the years, the company has made a tremendous contribution to aviation in general, and in particular, to United States naval aircraft.
We're now going to look at HobbyBoss's F4U-4 Corsair late version. Now this is by HobbyBoss and it is 1/48 scale. It's a pretty kind of new tooling by HobbyBoss, and it's this one particular is a new kit release, but it is there are different versions. I think there's like an early version, there's another version I can't quite remember off the top of my head, but basically same kit in lots of different boxes with slightly different pieces, different decals, but this is the latest one to date for 2013. So let's have a look inside the box and let's see, you know, what you get in here before it's all unwrapped and unpackaged and everything. And what we've got nicely separately bagged, even with this nice protective foam as well for certain pieces. So as you can see, I mean, we can't quite see what's in there because it's all nicely protected, which is a real nice bonus. Fuselage section separately bagged, a bit of our wing section here, fuel tanks as well separately bagged, couple of little pieces here for rockets separately bagged, wings separately bagged. It's all really good packaging by the looks of it. So you've got a lot of grey plastic sprues there in a separate little box here. We've also got in here which is completely and utterly bagged, but I'm guessing, yeah, that is the clear parts. Let's maybe get a bit of lighting, extra lighting in here. We've got our engine cover just at the front in a completely separate sprue, separately bagged, and some more of that front engine section there as well. What we've got in here, let's put this box out the way. Set of instructions which do feel quite thin, but this is a World War II fighter, so it should be rather easy, and we'll have a closer look at them instructions, which are actually very small actually, but nicely, as you do with HobbyBoss, you get this nice satin, nice quality paper, colour paper finish of like where the decals go, of the colour schemes that we can have here, and they've normally got these nice little call outs for some of the main manufacturers of acrylic paints that we can use for this aircraft. Nice set of decals here, nicely separately bagged and with the cover on there, that nice see-through cover on there, nicely protecting these decals, which is nice, and then their usual bit of advertisement. So we've had a look at what's in the box before I unbag everything, so let's go off and let's unbag this and let's have a closer look at what we actually get in here. Let's kickstart this inbox review with the instructions. Now the instructions, nice, simple, typical HobbyBoss instructions. Now looking at this kit, it looks like we're going to have quite a nice bit of cockpit to actually put together, but we're also going to have this lovely, gorgeous engine that we're probably going to be able to build up into what's going to look like a pretty damn good engine. So nice opportunity for metallizer paints there. It's going to look like a typical World War II fighter with you know, two fuselage sections together, and then, you know, you put your wing section into the fuselage section and it's pretty done. But this is a open and closed sort of wing section, so we have this kind of like half a wing thing going on, as you can see there. Options, I do like how you do get these kind of like walls what you put onto the sides of the fuselage as well. We'll see them later, but that's a nice little touch because normally they kind of neglect that area there. But we've got flaps up and down. We can put ammunition, machine guns into our wings as well, so it's a nice bit of opening up panels that you get standard with the kit, which is pretty damn good. And that's basically the instructions. Looks pretty nice and simple, but you've got quite a few options to go with it there as well. Our colour schemes, these look quite good, quite interesting. We do have the call outs for Mr. Hobby, Vallejo, Model Master, Tamiya and Humbrol. Pretty straightforward. Doesn't look like there's a lot of decals that need to go on these two different markings that we get, which sadly we only got two different markings, but I mean, you know, it's good enough. Bit of advertising there. And the decals, now the decals, looking at the decals, maybe we can get you right in. Looking at the decals, they look kind of almost glossy to satin. The decals here for instrument display panels, to be honest with you, it's not a professional thing to put on. You can put them on if you want, but you know, I wouldn't personally do that. Normally HobbyBoss decals go down okay. I wouldn't say they're the best. They're not as good as Cartographer. They're not absolutely awful. They're just okay normally. But you know, some kits have different decals, so you know, as much as you can say, oh, HobbyBoss are normally okay, these could be absolutely fantastic or absolutely terrible. So we'll find out when we actually put them on. So looking at some parts, well, first part we have up here is what looks like an absolutely gorgeous canopy section here. As you can see, we've got no cracks, no mold problems or any kind of spidering effect going on there. As well as that, it is absolutely shiny as hell. I mean, that looks really nice. You can get away with just putting on your masks and leaving it there. I'll probably give it a bit of a polish to give it a bit more of a shine, to make it look more realistic, because basically the shinier it is, the more kind of it looks like a real canopy. But that does look damn good for straight out the box. We've got two separate kind of sprues here, which just has like our front engine covers here, and they do look rather nice. We do have a bit of flash going on just on the inside, as you can see, a little bit of flash there, as well as there is two join lines either side. There's a little join line, little join line that just goes down the side here, and we swing it round, there's another one over here. So basically two molds have come together and brought that as one. But you've got a little bit of a join line which could do with sanding out, a little bit of rescribing. No need for filler really, it's just a bit of a sand and a scribe, but that looks pretty damn good. So looking at some of our sprues here, which are nice grey sprues that are, you know, nice pretty shiny plastic. There's no kind of real problems with it. But looking at it, we've got this lovely engine section here, which also you've got all these different pieces for the engine to build up into what's going to look like a pretty damn good engine. We've got bits of landing gear, which, you know, we haven't got any nasty ejector pin marks in horrible places. Our wheels look pretty good. We do have some ejector pin marks in certain places, but they seem to all be in those places that we don't mind. We're not going to see, no one's going to see it, so it doesn't matter. Again, we've got our propeller here, which does look quite nice, feels kind of strong but yet quite thin. Instrument display panel looks a bit, shall we say, naff. It's not very good. It's okay in a sense that we can kind of get it to look okay, but I would kind of recommend, you know, if you're gonna have your canopy open and you want to show it off, you probably want to get something like some photo etch, a nice simple cheap cockpit photo etch set, just to kind of tidy this up, because all I'm seeing here is like kind of quite deep holes for your dials and stuff. There's no dial detail either, and you know, the decals they give you for the instrument display panels aren't very good. As you can see here, they're not very good at all. Putting that decal down on there isn't going to look good. We're probably best just trying to paint up ourselves, do a pretty good job, maybe put a pilot in there, maybe close the canopy. Should be okay out of the box, but if you want to open it up, not put a pilot in, you know, get those photo etch parts. The rest of the canopy bits do look pretty good actually. Looking at these, I'm not really seeing any major problems. We have these like side walls here as well, which I mentioned earlier, which kind of gives you, you know, a nice bit of a pattern to the sides of the fuselage in the cockpit section. Bit more kind of engine detail as well, but it's all looking good, and I'm not seeing any major flash, not seeing any nasty sink marks. Coming to the fuselage section, as we can see, you know, we've got some nice detailed recessed panel lines. We've got recessed rivets going on here, and it looks pretty good. I mean, it's not next generation molding like we see on our Tammy 132nd Spitfires and P51s and the new Edard Spitfire. but it's pretty damn good, you know. It's just not next generation. We've also got you know, the recessed panel lines get a bit thin when it gets round to that 90-degree angle. Always when it comes to a mold, these 90-degree angles here and just here, right, this is where our recessed panel lines start to fade. Now on the top here, they don't seem too bad. They are a little bit faded, but they are quite a bit just under the belly side, which is no big deal, because we're going to have to bring these two fuselage halves together. We're going to have to fill them, probably we're going to have to sand them, and probably rescribe them anyway, even if those were all nice. So that's not a big deal. On the inside, we have got I don't think we're going to have any ejector pin marks in any kind of not wanted places, so that's not too bad. We've got our two halves of our wing section here, and a bit of our bottom of our fuselage belly. And looking at this again, the surface detail is the same as what we got on our fuselage section just over here. In our wheel wells, again, no ejector pin marks in those nasty places. They're looking pretty good, and hopefully it will fit together nicely when you bring your two if you decide to close your wings on this model. Hopefully the wings will go together nicely with the other half. As you can see, if we bring them together, hopefully they'll go together nicely, not leave any nasty gaps or anything like that. And again, you know, I mean, looking at our surface detail, it is just like the rest of the model. It's all nice and the same, nice detailed recessed panel lines, recessed rivets. We've got our ammunition bay doors where our MGs go, which we can have open or closed and show off all that stuff. Hopefully those doors, if you want to close up your machine guns, that the panels will actually go on. They'll glue into place nicely, which they never normally do. You've normally got to do maybe a bit of filling, a bit of sanding to make it look like the rest of the recessed panel lines on our wing section here. Looking underneath, it doesn't matter where these ejector pin marks are, because that's all going to be covered. But we've got a few little pieces now, which is kind of standard. I mean, we've got some fuel tanks here, no real issues seen there, no flash, no sink marks. MG guns detail is pretty damn good throughout the box. You know, aftermarket parts would be better. The ammunition belts are looking pretty good. Again, if you can get aftermarket parts, they would look better, but there's no real kind of issues there. In our kind of like area where we're going to put our MGs, there are 6 kind of slightly faint ejector pin marks, but I mean, our MGs are probably going to go in there and probably cover them up anyway, but maybe it's something we might need to deal with. We've got a nice couple of rockets here on a sprue, 8 of them all together, so you can have 4 each side. Again, these are looking pretty good. And then our last little sprue here, we have stuff like flaps and stuff. So let's just turn this over. We've got all like our flaps and tails, you know, all the detail is there nicely recessed, nicely smooth. We ain't got any nasty flash, because normally with some of the older kits, I mean, we've normally got, if we turn it over, we've normally got some ejector pin marks going on here. We have on these on the underside, but then it's 2 pieces that come together, so you're not going to see them. Wheel well doors as well is always a pain for ejector pin marks, and I haven't got them on here, which is good, so we haven't got to take care of them. And that's it. Now, I mean, that kit, I forgot how much it was, but I'll probably edit it into this video, but I don't think it was too much. So final conclusion, for a out of the box kit, it damn well looks like it's going to build into a damn good kit, and I've actually seen this model built, and they do look really nice. The cockpit area, I mean, that instrument display panel, I did not personally like that, so I would recommend photo etch or closing up canopies and stuff like that. The canopy looks absolutely you know, top-notch, spot on, to be honest. I am quite impressed with that. Surface detail looks damn good to make a professional model, really. So really, I don't think you're going to have much of a problem with this kit. I think you're going to be able to build a professional kit. It's not that much, so I mean, this is definitely looking like a well-recommended kit. So let's get on with our video build here and let's start building it. Right, just to get started, pretty much the basics of any model building is you just want to cut off the sprue, any little pieces like this piece here, and what you end up with is like little tab marks. And what you want to do is you want to make sure that you don't cut right up to the actual piece. You want to cut so you end up with like maybe a mil of the tab left over, so that way we don't damage the actual piece. If we come in with some, you know, our cutters like this, and we kind of maybe cut into the piece itself, or slightly cut or kind of deform the actual piece we're going to use at all. So leave 1 mil so that you don't damage the piece, and then you can come in maybe with a blade. I like to use a blade personally, and we can just chop up this little bit of a tab just slightly. And what we're doing here is we're not making one big chop and cut it all off. I mean, a better probably example here is we've got some big kind of tabs going on with the fuselage section. As you can see here, we've got quite a bit that I've kind of left to protect our piece, and you just chop little tiny bits off. We don't go off and we don't kind of chop it all in one go like that. Basically, we want to just nicely shave it off a little bit at a time, and it just helps keep the plastic from kind of almost sort of cracks in a way. It kind of leaves kind of like sort of splinters in the actual piece if you just chop it all in one go. And what we've got there now is that's pretty much right down to the plastic, but the thing is, we're going to be coming along and we're going to be gluing these two fuselage halves together, and we're going to have to fill sand and scribe. So I'm not going to worry about getting that looking all nice on the fuselage section, but on here we may see some of these pieces in the actual cockpit section. So coming along and simply, I mean, a good I'll just get it off camera. A good kind of sanding stick is a nice sponge sanding stick, a nice fine one. After chopping the tab down so far, we can just nicely sand away at this and just get that nice little tab mark all nicely sanding up, feeling smooth, and any spraying on that, and that should look quite good. Now that is something we want to do for all the pieces. When cutting off any pieces, to get all these tab marks all nicely sorted, all looking good, sanding up quite nicely. If we've got any flash in any areas, I mean, say if we had some flash just on the top here, we can scrape a blade across like so, and it would get off any of those kind of bits of flash going on. We could just simply come in with a sanding stick as well. So there's some nice little basics there. So I'm going to trim up all these little pieces that I've just got over here to the side. I'm going to trim them all up nicely, ready to kind of start doing this cockpit. A little bit of a problem with the kit, we've got these little bits that are sticking out here, and what the problem is, when we come along and we put our fuselage section together, right, what's going to happen is these are going to get in the way. We're probably going to end up breaking them off during the build stage, and you know, we need to get this belly seam line here seamless, and to do that we need to get in there with a sanding stick, and these are just going to get in the way. So what we want to do is, I'll just off camera grab a little box. I like to keep a nice little see-through box to one side, just something like this. And what we can do, that is where I like to put all my little pieces. So what we'll do, we'll just get our cutters, and we're just going to simply cut these off just like so. So we cut them off, we'll throw them in the box, right, and we can paint them up and glue them on somewhere at the end, right? So that's them off, but what we don't have to worry about, and that is this. If we kind of zoom in, Right, where we've just cut these off of this right fuselage here, on the left side we do have little kind of half circles, hopefully, as you can just see. So actually we've got a nice indication of where they go. So when we glue this together, we can then drill in a hole in these two little areas here, so that we're all good to kind of glue them little pieces back on. So that's a nice little thing you might want to do there, and we could probably trim these up just a little bit, just to make sure they're going to be a bit neat. No need to go too drastic, because we're going to be gluing, sanding, filling, scribing, all that stuff later. So now we want to get down to some gluing of our here we go, let's get some Tamiya extra thin cement. Tamiya extra thin cement, nice glue to use. It's better than using the old kind of you know, the polished cement that you actually get free in some kits. This stuff, it's just a lot messier and less professional. This is the professional stuff you want. Tamiya extra thin cement. You can get Mr. Cement S as well if you want to. Cement S is kind of good if you're going to be gluing onto paint, because it has it dries a lot quicker, so it doesn't damage surfaces of your paint or your plastic, anything like that. But I'm just going to go with Tamiya extra thin cement. It's the most well known. And to get started, what we're going to do, we're just going to get like a couple of pieces here, and the way this is going to go, we're going to take our first piece and glue this in, and make sure you're looking at your instructions, orientating the pieces right. And what we're going to do, we're just going to put it together just like that, so it's just holding nicely on its own. And then we get our Tamiya extra thin cement, and we simply put a little bit of glue on where the actual join line is, as you can see there. And what's happened is the Tamiya extra thin cement is so thin, the capillary action sucks into the gap, it sucks into the join line, and what's happening now is that is melting this piece of plastic and this piece of plastic together on that join line, making a pretty damn good gluing it damn well, because I mean it basically welds the two pieces of plastic together. And we can also do the same the other end, just making sure everything's orientated right, and making sure everything's on the right step. Yeah, that's right, that goes on there, and that's holding kind of nicely by itself. Maybe just a little bit of Tamiya extra thin cement just at the back, just to get it holding a little bit better in position. Right, and what we can do is exactly the same. Get that Tamiya extra thin cement in there on the join line. Right, maybe give it a little bit of a push. Right, well, what you want to remember with Tamiya extra thin cement is when you start doing, actually I'll just off camera grab some tweezers just to cut. Ooh, see, I've knocked that. I want to put that in position. Now, I mean, that's going to take a little bit of time to dry. But when it does dry, it will dry pretty damn rock hard. It's coming from underneath as well if we get the opportunity. Little tip there, it just helps it glue a lot better if you can come in from both sides. Now when you've glued it into place, after so many seconds, the plastic's going to melt to a point that if you play around with this anymore, the plastic's going to start to ooze out of the join line, and then make the join line look unneat. So if I was to kind of keep playing with this and moving it, the plastic's going to ooze out and start making it look a bit kind of naff. So we put this to one side, maybe balance it on something off camera, just so that we don't kind of maneuver that out of position. And it's basically the same with all the pieces that we're basically putting on here. We can also come along and do things like quickly put a little bit of glue in place, like where we need to make a bit of a glue, we can also put a little bit of glue down, get our piece that we want to glue together, and then we can glue it slightly together that way. And we're talking just slightly. It doesn't really glue that well when you do it this way, but what it does is it holds the piece in position by itself long enough for you to then come in with the Tamiya extra thin cement, let that capillary action get in there, suck in there, start melting the plastic and gluing it together really nice. And sometimes you might need to just hold it together a little bit, but we'll talk more about gluing throughout the video, because when we come to putting the fuselage halves together and everything, we're going to be talking more about it then. But I'm just going to start gluing like all these little pieces that I've got off camera, which kind of makes up our whole canopy section. If there's anything interesting, I'll kind of turn the camera on. If there's not, I'll you know, keep the camera off. And kind of remember that throughout this build, that when I come to bits that I've kind of, as I've just shown you some gluing, if I've got like a load of more gluing, I'm not going to keep showing you gluing. I'm going to turn the camera off. If there's something interesting, I'll turn the camera on, and then basically, you know, I'll kind of turn the camera back on when we start the next bit. So just to kind of, so you're not seeing me build, you know, 50 hours worth of building. It's all boring. We'll keep trying to get to the interesting bits, and keep trying to cover basic bits, intermediate bits, advanced bits, you know, and trying to get the camera on when it needs to be on.